Hi, I'm Susan Shaner with Sage Leadership Strategies, and I'm your host today of Community Forum. And I have the great pleasure to have with me Shawn Sweeney, who is the program coordinator for Roots and Shoots. It's a program of the Jane Goodall Institute located really on the offices of WestCon right here in Danbury. Welcome, Shawn.
Thank you, Susan. I'm so glad to be here.
It's great to have you.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about what is Roots and Shoots?
Sure. Well, Roots and Shoots is a youth program that was started by Dr. Jane Goodall, world-famous primatologist, and it's a program, as I mentioned, for youth where they do community service projects for people, animals, and the environment with this theme of peace and harmony, going through all of their projects. And it was started by Dr. Jane because of work that she had been doing in Africa where she had studied chimpanzees. She noticed that chimpanzee populations were in decline and really figuring out ways that we could help the people that are living around chimpanzee populations to bring them back about, increase their numbers and that sort of thing. She really saw that the way for us to do that was by helping people, local communities around chimpanzee habitats, and Roots and Shoots was sort of born out of that as a way to get young people involved. And as she's traveled around the world, it's spread into just about 100 countries. So.
Wow, that's incredible. So I'm assuming that many of our viewers know who Jane Goodall is, but there may be some who don't, and as you said, she's started out, was like 40 years ago, right?
Actually, 1960 was when
60.
she first went to Africa. So actually a little earlier for Africa, but her research started in 1960. So at Gombe Stream Research Center, where she studied chimpanzees in Tanzania. So, and spent the last 50 years or so studying chimpanzees and working around the globe to raise awareness about chimpanzee conservation, not only chimps in the wild, but also chimps in research and in entertainment and in zoos, and then also really trying to raise awareness about issues with local peoples in Africa. And now it's actually expanding to getting everyone involved in doing their part to save local species that are in their own communities and doing what they can to help preserve any habitat that might be endangered, just like chimp habitat in
So
Africa.
she was sort of a pioneer and actually lived with the chimpanzees.
Yeah.
And you're saying started the movement for other kinds of species-saving organizations?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's really been a pioneer in animal behavior research and has really used that experience studying animals in the wild to bring those stories to people and inspire them to do what they can in their own communities to save habitats for their local species or, their species abroad.
So Roots and Shoots was an effort to sort of broaden that, but also talk about not just saving animals, but things we can do for the environment?
Yeah, what Dr. Jane really recognized is that all of the issues that we're facing in our world are interconnected. So if we are attempting to save animals, then there's inevitably an environmental issue associated with that, or some kind of human rights or peace issue that's associated with it. So she realized for us to be able to accomplish this goal of species conservation, and in her case chimpanzees, we really needed to address all of these issues as they're interconnected and come up with solutions that satisfy all the different issues that we're facing.
So when did Roots and Shoots get started?
Roots and Shoots was started in 1991, actually with a group of high school students in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, which is the capital of Tanzania. They were students that had been spending time with Dr. Jane as she was living in that part of Tanzania, working with the Forest Service, and there she really recognized that they needed some help with knowing that they could take control of issues that they were passionate about, and those students happened to be very passionate about the way that domestic animals were being treated in the urban environment of Dar es Salaam.
So was Jane involved with the high school students, or they knew of her, and is that, which way did it start?
Yeah, it was really that they were involved with her. She was sort of a teacher to them.
So,
you know,
so
above
she was.
and
They were
beyond.
inspired by her,
Yeah.
and they reached out to her, and then she realized they needed a little bit more guidance. Or,
Yeah, yep, and worked with them to get the first Roots and Shoots project off the ground, which was raising awareness about humane treatment of domestic animals. So, yeah.
And then it grew from there.
Yeah, as Dr. Jane has traveled around the world, she's spreading Roots and Shoots and the Jane Goodall Institute's message that every individual can play a role in this movement. And so it's grown from there, and like I said, in just about 100 countries.
That's incredible. So 100 countries. So is the main office in Tanzania? I mean, I know you have an office in Danbury.
We actually have 26 offices around the world, and the main headquarters for the Jane Goodall Institute USA is in Arlington, Virginia, so in the DC metro area. We actually have our university programs office at WestCon here. WestCon is our host university for our university program.
And that's what you're responsible for coordinating.
Yeah.
So what does the university program do?
Yeah, well, Roots and Shoots started, as I mentioned, with high school students, and is probably our highest population of students that are involved in Roots and Shoots. And one of the things that Dr. Jane really sees is the power of university students and university communities, really, to be a hub for their community and have access to resources that could help Roots and Shoots groups and university students as individuals who have a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of real passion for issues. So she really wanted for us to start this program for university students where we provide them with the resources and ideas and the network to exist within so that they can work on their own campuses and within their communities to do Roots and Shoots projects and work on different issues that they're passionate about.
So if at a university, is it like a club that somebody would join?
Yeah, you know, it's taken a whole bunch of different manifestations on university campuses. A lot of times it does manifest as a club, something that students do outside of school. We've had professors that teach Roots and Shoots classes. So yeah, like a service learning type class where they teach students a certain type of curricular study or something like that, and they embed service into the class. It's also served as a way that a whole bunch of different clubs could come together under one banner. So you might have a club that is really focused on human rights issues and another club that might be really interested in farm animal issues, and they'll come together and do programming or service projects that address both of those issues simultaneously, sort of, you know, with the main gist of Roots and Shoots and trying to recognize that all of the issues are interconnected. So
your role is program coordinator for all the university programs around the country or around the world?
Yeah, it's around the U.S. Because our office is unique. There are no other university programs offices in the world. We do serve sort of as a connector for a lot of the university groups around the world and that sort of thing, but our primary focus is with students and universities in the U.S.
So how did you come to this role and how long have you been doing it? Just tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. Well, I actually was a student at the College of Worcester, and I went there because of a passion for studying primates. So I wanted to, I started as a psychology major and really wanted to work with primates, and I really wanted a small school too. So it was a very small liberal arts school that had a colony of black-capped capuchin monkeys, and there I was able to work with those monkeys all 4 years that I was in school, and got about halfway through school and realized that I wanted to do something other than actually study them in the wild or in a lab or something like that, and ended up meeting Dr. Jane. She came to campus to give a lecture, and there...
Is she what got you started in monkeys? Because, I mean, how...
Yeah, she...
What made you interested in monkeys?
Well, a whole bunch of things. My father is a biology teacher, a high school biology teacher, so sort of had an animal background since I was conceived, probably. I actually met a photographer for the Diane Fossey Gorilla Fund, who is a counterpart to Jane that studied mountain gorillas in the Virunga Mountains in Africa, and really became fascinated with primates and that sort of thing when I learned about the work that Diane Fossey had done. And as many might know, Diane was actually killed while working over there, and so I've done a little bit with research and that sort of thing for Diane Fossey, but knew that Jane was still alive and doing her research and doing her work, and so I became really fascinated with chimpanzees as well, and all primates really. So that was what motivated me to take the school that I did.
So you said halfway through you realized maybe I don't want to just focus on the monkeys?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And more specifically, doing the scientific research. I wanted to be out there talking to people about primate conservation and that sort of thing. Like, around the turn of the century, there were about 1 million chimpanzees in the world, and today there's less than 150,000, or around 150,000. So they inhabit 22 countries in Africa, and so there's been extreme decline, and a lot of people just don't understand the issues that surround their decline, and they're
That's
basic.
Just the 9 years around the turn of this century?
The
or last
turn
century?
of in the 1900s.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
100 years.
Yeah.
It's gone down about 800,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've lost a lot of their numbers.
What's that do to?
3 things. The first one is habitat destruction, which we hear a lot as far as endangered species go and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And because of that, they've actually constructed roads into forests that were previously impenetrable. And with that came, in certain countries, chimpanzees are actually consumed for their meat. It's called bushmeat.
Oh,
and
really?
Yeah, so because these roads have been built into these forests, people have greater access to them, and there's actually an international market for chimpanzee and other animal meat all over the world. So you may have seen in media publications that it shows up in New York City and in France, and and really anywhere in the world you could probably find a market where it's being sold.
I had no idea people eat chimpanzees.
Yeah, so that's been a really destructive thing to their populations, and
so their environment's being destroyed, they're being hunted.
Yeah.
What's the third?
The third thing is actually the pet trade. So when they do shoot the chimpanzees, or however they kill them with snares, oftentimes they're infants that are with the adults, and those infants end up in the pet trade. So they're put into market and sold to people as
Why would
pets.
somebody want to have a chimpanzee as a pet, and what kind of pets do they make?
Well, as an infant, they're adorable. They're just so cute, as many animal infants are. They make really challenging pets. They're a wild animal that's intended to be in the wild, and as they grow up, they become very aggressive and can be uncontrollable. So they're, I think that there's appeal there for taking them on as a pet, as a baby, and as a baby they're very easy to control. But like I said, as they grow up, their basic natural instincts just kick in, and they know that they're in an environment where they're not intended and not with other chimpanzees. And
well, I think most people think of chimpanzees or monkey. What is the difference between a chimpanzee and a monkey? I'm using that interchangeably, but is that correct?
Yeah, it's actually chimpanzees are one of the great apes. A monkey is a primate that has a tail, and that's usually the best thing that's differentiates. Yeah, so chimps and monkeys are both apes, or sorry, primates. But as I said, chimpanzees are great apes, along with gorillas and orangutans, and some other species as well. And then there's many species of monkeys, so they're all primates.
So I think most people, when they think of chimps, are those cute chimps on shows that grab the banana and can talk to you and communicate. So they probably don't really think about, that they're a wild animal.
Yeah.
They think, wouldn't they be fun to have as a pet?
Yeah, exactly. It's and one of the things that's really important about that is that most of the animals that you'll see in entertainment and that sort of thing, they're very young, so they're trainable, and as I said, easily controlled, and trained just like a dog might be to do tricks. And a lot of the methods that are used for doing that are ones that cause them harm, whether physical or mental. So as they grow up, they might lash out or whatever.
So you had some time studying the chimps.
I studied monkeys.
The monkeys.
Actually,
I'm sorry, the monkeys.
Yep.
Then
Yep.
you met Jane Goodall at a talk at your school.
Yep.
And you were inspired by her.
Yeah. Yep.
And how did you land with Roots and Shoots?
Yeah, well, she said that I had to start a Roots and Shoots group at my school, so I started it as a club.
She said you absolutely have to, and you said yes, it's a must.
Well, I asked her what I could do. I wanted to do something for her. I actually told her when the moment I met her that if she had a job for me, I would give up school and I would go and do it. And
really?
She
so
said it was.
Had you studied her? Were you inspired by her from when you were really young?
Yeah. I mean, when I learned about Diane, I simultaneously learned about Jane and her work. So she told me that was the most absurd thing she had ever heard, and that I needed to finish school. And
oh, well, good for Jane.
Yeah. Yeah. So I started our Roots and Shoots group at my school and stayed really connected with the staff of Roots and Shoots, and was lucky enough, just as I was about to graduate, to join our College Leadership Council. So we have what's called our Youth Leadership Initiative in the U.S., where we have 7 councils, and really stellar and active Roots and Shoots members can join the council and be this force of volunteers that really helps to maintain Roots and Shoots as a youth-led and youth-driven program. And I was a member of our College Leadership Council that helped to work with the university staff at that time to guide our university efforts and that sort of thing.
So take us through, what was your first project? You started up a Roots and Shoots chapter there?
Yeah, I started a chapter, a club at the College of Worcester, where I was.
And just so folks, they may not know, what state is that in?
It's in Ohio, Worcester, Ohio.
Yeah.
So just about an hour south of Cleveland.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was your project?
Probably our biggest project while I was there was working on a sacred space. At our school, they had these very small rooms that used to be computer labs that they wanted to turn into rooms where students could retreat, where they could meditate, where they could pray if they wanted to, and that sort of thing. A lot of the clubs, like the club that was associated with the Catholic Church, or maybe the Buddhist or the Muslims, wanted to adopt the spaces and make it a space for their their religious practices and that sort of thing. And our school was happy to accommodate them, but they really wanted spaces that any student could use. So it was a perfect fit for Roots and Shoots because we weren't necessarily associated with any religious practice, and we were able to turn our room into a room that was, nature themed. We had a full wall mural of a birch forest, which is really cool because Dr. Jane's home in England is actually called the Birches. So that was sort of our nod to Dr. Jane, and we filled it with plants and quotes about nature and that sort of thing. And for a school in Ohio, the winters can be kind of challenging. So it was really a space where students could go and feel like they were in this little oasis and listen to a nice fountain and just retreat and do their meditation.
So your project for Roots and Shoots, that's interesting, because when you first said Roots and Shoots, I thought, and explain what it was, I thought, okay, maybe it's environmental projects, but it's anything that helps create sustainability or?
Sustainability, it's really whatever interests the individuals who are involved. So in our case, we saw this opportunity to draw students' attention to nature and how nature can be restorative, and hopefully through that be more appreciative of nature when they were out in it. So it was a perfect fit for a Roots and Shoots project, and one that hopefully would have a lasting effect on students.
So look, what's an example of a project going on now in Danbury, led by either a high school student or a college student?
Well, I would say one good one is our Roots and Shoots group over at WestCon is working really hard to celebrate Earth Week this week. And we have the Wolf Conservation Center bringing Atka the wolf to school tomorrow at 4, actually. And then Wednesday we have a day-long Earth Day fair where the Debate Society will be doing a debate on water issues. We'll have a bunch of different groups, campus clubs, other organizations tabling on campus, giving people information about environmental issues.
So what happens like when a wolf's brought on campus?
It's actually
What's the security like?
Yeah, it's actually a really amazing experience. Atka is one of the Wolf Conservation Center's ambassador wolves. So he goes around and does educational programs with people and is there to show people that wolves are not the scary beasts that they're portrayed, just as chimpanzees are portrayed as these, really lovable little, little guys. Wolves are portrayed as being evil, and so Atka is really there to show people that wolves are, not what we typically think they are. So,
so Earth Week seems like a natural interface with Roots and Shoots, but I'm assuming you probably have different kinds of projects and initiatives going on all year.
Yeah. Yep, all year.
Now,
different
do people just have
speakers
to
and that sort of
be?
thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's okay.
Do people just have to be youth, or do you have people of all ages involved?
Well, it actually started, as I mentioned, with high school students, and we're working with university students, but Dr. Jane has this motto that every individual makes a difference, every individual matters, and every individual has a role to play. So when you hear Dr. Jane speak, she really, really drives the Roots and Shoots message home to every single person that hears that motto and that message. So we really want anyone and everyone to be involved with Roots and Shoots and working with young people in their communities to get them engaged, thinking about their own personal choices and making ones that are better for our earth, for their communities or for animals, that sort of thing.
So would it typically be a project led by a youth that someone of any age could then help out with, get involved with, but it wouldn't be, you wouldn't find somebody older
You actually,
like me, leading a project.
No, actually, quite the opposite. We've had corporate teams get together and do projects in their businesses and bring, say, sustainability to their offices. We've had Roots and Shoots work done in prisons, actually, where where different teachers that we've been involved with have brought the Roots and Shoots message to inmates that are there and talked to them about those issues and that sort of thing. So it's been there. There's been connections with retirement homes and assisted living facilities and that sort of thing. So it's really all over the place. And actually, thinking about retirement homes and individuals who are older, I just love the idea of working, connecting young people with the wisdom and the knowledge that's there. So those kinds of projects are really inspiring to me.
Yeah, I think our society unfortunately sort of worships young people and doesn't tap into
really true.
the elders' wisdom as much as we could. So that's a great
and
forum.
that's such a big thing that we really advocate, is that every Roots and Shoots group needs mentors, and a lot of the ways that student clubs and that sort of thing, they call for whatever their system calls for, a mentor or a advisor. And anytime I'm talking to a Roots and Shoots group, I tell them, if you don't have 3 or 4 or 5, then you're going to be suffering, because you can really, really benefit from their wisdom and their knowledge and their problem-solving skills. And that
how
sort of
many
thing.
people are typically on a project?
It really varies. When I had my Roots and Shoots group at the College of Worcester, we had about 5 or 6 people that were really active all the time. But we had our huge database of people that were interested in our projects. So, our small group of people would plan the details of the projects, and then we'd send emails out, and everybody would come and join in. So
Wow.
it really depends on the group dynamics of
Yeah.
your school or your community group or whatever, and how it ends up being.
So when you graduated, you were recruited to move out here to lead up this youth leadership program.
Yeah, actually, I was a part of the College Leadership Council and then became the first graduate fellow for Roots and Shoots. So recently we've added these positions that are one-year positions, one for a recent high school graduate and one for a recent college graduate. And I started as the graduate fellow, and then this past year was able to move into my current position where I do work with university students and our youth leaders.
So you have a permanent full-time role.
Yes.
So you've been with this group for a couple of years now?
Yeah, I started my Roots and Shoots group about 4.5 years ago, and was the graduate fellow in 2007 and 2008, and then started as a full-timer in this past fall.
So how are you finding it? What's your greatest challenge and your greatest accomplishment? Give us some headlines.
Yeah, well, I would say my greatest challenge is that when I think about that question, I think about one thing that a professor said about me, that sometimes I'm like a sparrow and have trouble zeroing in on what I want to do, because there's so many issues out there that really deserve and need attention, and it's just tough, trying to decide where your time and your energy is going. So I think that's one thing that I'm learning, is how to give my time wholeheartedly to things that I'm really passionate
Sort of
about.
prioritize.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and the greatest achievement, it's really interesting, because I think that every couple of months I have a new greatest achievement, and it started with meeting Dr. Jane, and that was the greatest achievement of my life. And now I get to hear about all of the Roots and Shoots projects that are happening all over the world, and I get to say that I'm a part of helping to make that happen. So that's a really a thing that I love to know that I've contributed to. So
Do you travel to the different offices, or you primarily do it out of the Danbury office?
Yeah, I work primarily out of the Danbury offices, connecting with people electronically and that sort of thing. I do travel down to Washington occasionally to meet up with our staff down there for different events and conferences, that sort of thing. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, if somebody was interested in Roots and Shoots, regardless of whatever their age was, whether
Right.
they wanted to be part of a project or they wanted to lead a project,
Yeah.
how would they contact you?
Yeah, well, the best thing to do always to connect with any of our staff is to go to our website. It's www.rootsandshoots.org.
Okay,
So,
www.rootsandshoots.org.
yep.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
And they can find all our contact information for the offices around the globe, actually. So.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining us tonight, Shawn.
Thank
It's
you.
really interesting.
Thanks.
I'm Susan Shaner. Until next time with Community Forum, thank you for joining us.